So glad you guys can join me. And I know that this will be valuable for you guys because you are in the process of growing your platform, especially you, Jessica. I am so excited to see what God does with you and your messaging. So replay viewers, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you guys for showing love as I go through the rest of this little mini series, if you will, on Media Kits. You know, if you don't know me, I am Lisa Hooks. I am a life strategist and business coach, and I love to help ministers, ministry leaders, anyone in that realm of spirituality who just loves the Lord and wants to serve the Lord more, wants to get their word out, wants to, just bless the kingdom of God. I love helping those women. I love helping entrepreneurs. I love helping authors. I love helping speakers build their platforms as well as building their income and monetizing their expertise. And, it was wonderful today because this morning, as I was praying, and, sometimes I just go into these seasons of Thanksgiving where my prayers just end up thanking God, and praising God for what he has done in my life, what he has allowed me to do in others' lives. It just feels overwhelming sometimes, and it's so honoring that God has allowed me to use my gift to help women build their gift, increase their audience, increase their platform, increase their fingerprints, their handprints around the world. It's just very honoring to be able to do that. And he's allowed me to do that in so many ways. And, when I was thinking about all of that, I also prayed, I said, Lord, there are a lot of people who don't understand the concept of Christian men and women having money, having lots of money, and it's strange to me because, the word clearly tells us that God wants us to be blessed. We know living in this world system that money answereth the thing. We know that we need money to do anything. We know that we want to serve, we want to give, we want to increase people's lives. And a lot of times that means having income, having finances. And, I was starting to feel some kind of way, but then God reminded me, because he's just good like that. He reminded me about the women who served him with their finances, the women who supported his ministry. Then he went on to remind me of the women who supported Paul's ministry, who had income coming in. They had businesses, they had inheritances, but women, even back then, served God, served the disciples with their income, with money. And Jesus was not ashamed of it. Paul was not ashamed of it. And so if you are a woman who is still struggling with making a lot of money, having a higher increase, having a higher income, even sometimes higher than your husband, I would really encourage you to prayerfully seek God and ask him to help you deal with that, honey. Because God has given us gifts, talents. He has given us skills. He has given us so many means, so many ways to increase our finances. And of course, we want to do it his way and not be ashamed about it, right? Not be ashamed about it. Why are you looking for a 9-to-5 job? What is that 9-to-5 job going to give you? It's going to give you consistent income. Why do you need consistent income? Because you need to live. So if you're not ashamed of that 9-to-5 job that's bringing in consistent income, why would you be ashamed for greater wealth that can bring in more blessings, that can allow you to be a blessing to others, that can allow you to give more, that can allow you to expand the kingdom of God? Okay, I'm not going to stay on that. But I'm not going to stay on that. But, you know, that is something that Christian women and women in ministry are still struggling with. So again, ask God to help you get over that. So we're going to get started here on Media Kits. I mentioned that we're going to talk about messaging. And when we're talking about Media Kits, I specifically was referring to speaker kits for the most part, but media kits as well as those that you would have on your websites, on your social media pages, those that you would have if you were being invited to be on a podcast, a talk show. So when I'm talking about media kits, I'm talking about that promotional material that you will provide for them. It could be with a speakers bureau. It could be with event planners. It could be with media producers. So I think you guys got the gist of that. And I said that within the media kit, you want to make sure that you have your press bio. You want to make sure that you have your press clips. You want to make sure that you have your interview topics and your talk descriptions, as well as photos and videos. So those are what you want to have in your media kit. So today we're going to talk a little more about the messaging, the talk descriptions, as well as your bio messaging. Okay. And so when I think about bios and I think about messaging, there was a time when you would create your bio and you would give them your education. You would pretty much give your education, what you did, how long you've done it, and your education. Well, you know, that has changed because people are not as interested in education as they used to be generations ago. You know, you could have gone to college and got a master's degree, but was a C student. Okay, so education is not the big deal that it used to be, but results are. Results are the big deal. So that's what you want to do to make the best first impression with your bio, with your messaging, is you want to talk about results. Okay? You want to talk about results. Your bio, your messaging is your calling card. You know, it's the calling card for the event planners. It's the calling card that you put on your website, on your social media pages, on your LinkedIn and your emails. So you want to stand out in this saturated realm. You want to stand out with what you can do for the people who are looking at you. What do you do for your audience? So that's the first thing. Your first thing in your messaging should be a statement that proves you're the best choice. What makes you stand out? If I have the option of 10 speakers who speak on grief, what are you going to say in your messaging that makes you stand out? What is the result that you can give me? And people, it really comes down to that. People want to know what you can do for them. So yes, you want to showcase your experience. Yes, you want to showcase your training. But what you really want to showcase that's going to get people's attention is the results that you can bring them. Is your talk going to help me alleviate my pain? Is it going to give me a better understanding of the cycle of grief? Is it going to help me look forward to this new normal? What is your talk going to help me with? What does your bio help me with? And so when we're thinking about bios, you know, you want to have, as I said before, you want to have different bios. You want to have your short bio, you want to have your long bio. You want to have that bio that is really specific to your niche or to that specific audience, that platform that you have. Excuse me. And so you have the opportunity to give an example of your work. You have the opportunity to add a testimonial. And your testimonials help your audience know how to engage with you. Okay? They know how to receive you. They know what type of benefits you can offer. All right. And so, as I introduce myself, what do? I help women in particular build platforms. I help women in particular increase their audience. I help women in particular increase their income. I also help authors, writers publish their books. I have a book publishing service, and I'm working with a client right now. She has had a fiction book in the works for over 10 years, and she is so giddy about me publishing her book and finally seeing it in fruition. It's called The Precious Prize. So be looking out for that. It's a Christian fiction novel, but I help women do that. So I'm offering a result. That's what I do. And people want to know, what's in it for me? What can you do for me? So keep that in mind. When you are writing your bio, when you are writing your speaking descriptions, you want to start with the issue and the result. What are women dealing with? What is your audience dealing with? Let's say you have a book. Okay, beautiful woman of God. I interviewed her on my talk show. She has a book that discusses 218 ways to find joy. Well, I would expect that her book, her talk, if she is on a platform and if she's speaking and she's speaking about her book, then she is going to help me during that speech, no matter how long or short it is. She is going to help me find a level of joy, or tell me how to find a level of joy. I'm not interested in her getting on the platform and bragging about her book. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in her helping me with her book, with the knowledge of her book in some way. You guys understand what I'm saying? Let me make sure you guys are trekking with me. All right. Hi, Donna. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, so you guys are with me. I would have never published my book had you not given me the tools and strategies to do so. Oh, Paprika, thank you, dearest. Always a pleasure working with you. You make coaching easy. I appreciate you. You make coaching easy. Yes, business is results driven. People want results, okay? And your messaging needs to magnify your results. And as I said before, it's not just about your education. It's not just about that. It's about your experience. What have you done to help people? So that's what your messaging should be. And this is, this includes books, this includes services, this includes products. What does your product do for people? What's the result that people are going to get from your product? What is the result that people are going to get from your service? What is the result of that people are going to get from your book? Is it going to be just a feel-good message? Okay, but how is it making me feel? What is it going to do for me? Don't tell me it's going to inspire me. Tell me how it's going to inspire me, and what is it going to inspire me to do? Okay, don't just leave me with inspired. What is it going to inspire me to do? Okay, all right. So the second thing is your short stories. You want to make sure that you are adding stories to your bio. You want to make sure that you're adding story to your messaging. So when we're talking about story, you really want to kind of dig deep. Okay, you want to make sure that your story is authentic. You want to make sure that your story is personal, and sometimes your story can be funny, but you want to make people feel something with your story, because now they're connecting with you. Okay, stories is what make you likable, right? It's what makes you likable. So you want to share stories that entertain. Your stories can engage. Your stories can fascinate. All of that is great, but you want to have some sentences about your story. And so Let me give you an example. I had a Sweet 16 group that I did for 16 weeks. It was a health and nutrition group that I did for 16 weeks. And I was putting together a speaking engagement kind of based around health and wellness. And when I thought about my story, when I thought about what I wanted to share about my story and those first sentences, because those first sentences are very important, I considered, what would I say? And my thought was, starting with, I gained 30 pounds in 2 months and couldn't figure out why. Not only that, but just a few months later, my hair started shedding at a double rate. My skin started scaling. I became fatigued, and I could not figure out why. Now that's how I planned on starting my story. That's how I planned on starting my talk. I could say, oh, I've been in health and wellness now for about 2.5 years. And, I had this great program called Sweet 16. And, we dealt with food prep, blah, 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 blah. I could have done that as well. But you guys tell me, which one is better? Let me hear from you. Which one was better? My first example, my story, being authentic, sharing how I couldn't lose weight, how my skin was getting dry, or just saying, hey, I had this group called Sweet 16 and it was great. Yeah, my story, Jessica said, your story for sure. Yeah, it catches attention, and I'm connecting with my audience. I'm connecting. People are feeling, especially if my talk is on health and wellness, I want to capture my audience pretty quickly, but I also want to delve into the pain. I want to delve into the struggle, because, if you know anything, it's very difficult to kind of hold an audience's attention these days, right? So you want to deal with that pain. You want to deal with that issue in your speaking, in your bio, in your talk. So if you have, okay, so I also have a book that I am rewriting called Self-Sabotaging Behavior. And so that is in revision. And so when I had planned on preparing my talk for that, the core of it is overcoming self-defeating behaviors, overcoming mental and emotional difficulties, poor choices. So that's the core of the book. And so when I began to work on my talk, my thought was, I'm going to start off with something that just really gets a person's attention. And I changed my mind just because of the language. You got to be careful with certain audience. Something that I would say with a close personal friend maybe will not be well received with the audience. But, I thought about starting it off with, man, you know what? In my early 20s, I was a hot mess. I kept screwing things up. I had emotional issues. I was just full of drama. And, I could say that starting out to describe my book. Or I could say, let's just say 60% of women find themselves just in self-defeating behavior and, just a lot of emotional turmoil. And so I wrote this book to help those women overcome self-defeating behavior. Now, which one is more dramatic? Which one is more interesting, right? Talking about myself and using very descriptive language, right? So you want to consider those things. There's always a way to make it better, and I'm always improving my messaging. But when you think about your language, when you think about your messaging, you definitely want to use action verbs, and action verbs, okay? You definitely want to use adjectives. All right. You want your bios and your descriptions to be full of action and full of description. You want to connect. You want to use those words that make you feel something, whether it's like you or hate you, but you want something that's going to make your audience feel something, make your audience consider, make them contemplate, make them think about things, okay? Imagine that novel. You know, those first sentences are what makes people want to read that novel, and it's the same with your bio, it's the same with your description. Those first sentences are what's going to make people want to stay with you, want to get to know you. And more importantly, those event planners, those people who are looking to hire you, to pay you, those are the type of descriptions, those are the type of messaging that will make them choose you. Okay, and so that is the point of all of this. You want to let your audience know what you can offer them. So that means you have to deal with their pain points, and you have to be authentic in your own story. You want to be very personal in your story. You want to be very descriptive in your story, but you want to deal with pain points and results. Okay, all right, I'm going to take a couple of questions before we finish up. Let me check you guys out. How are we doing? Talk to me. Any questions about messaging? What I normally do with my clients is they normally give me the messaging that they have, and we just talk through. I ask lots of questions. We change a lot of the language. We use more action verbs. We use more adjectives. Then I would have them talk it out loud, because it needs to sound genuine to them. It needs to sound very natural when it comes out. And so I want to encourage you to do the same thing. Look at your bio. If it's boring, change it now. Look at your speaking descriptions. If they are lackluster, if they really don't just really catch your attention right away, change them now. Use your action verbs, use your adjectives. Think of creative ways to say what you've already said, and make sure they include those pain points and those results. What are you bringing to the table? That's just the bottom line, ladies. What are you bringing to the table? And prove that you can do it. Prove that you can do it with your testimonials, with your examples. Prove that you can do it. All right? All right, guys. Well, thank you again for joining me. Replay viewers, thank you for joining me. Please hashtag replay. Show some love with some hearts. And I will talk to you again Friday as we finish up this series on Media Kits. Take care, guys.